Welcome back. It's the final weekend for political parties to campaign for votes ahead of Wednesday's general elections. A good morning to you. My name is Naledi Mulo. You're watching Newsfeed AM. We've got our reporters, Juniour, Khumalo, Masilela and Dando Mnyandu, who are on the ground tracking what the various political parties are getting up to today, keeping a close eye on rallies for the MK party, the ANC, as well as the EFF. We start now taking you live to FNB Stadium in Johannesburg, where the ANC is holding its Siyanqoba rally. Our reporter Juniour Khumalo joins us live now from there. Juniour, it's quite the stadium that they've chosen. They're going to the FNB Stadium, one that certainly can fill up, but quite a tall order to fill that stadium up. How are those numbers looking, and how close are we to that program kicking off, Juniour?
Indeed, Naledi, it's quite a tall order for the ANC to fill up the sizable FNB Stadium, over 90,000-seater stadium. For now, there's been quite a few challenges when it comes to letting people go into the stadium, with the security allegedly being too tight. We heard an announcement a few minutes ago just encouraging supporters to not loiter outside and come into the stadium. So for now, we can say maybe the stadium is about half full. There are people still trickling in, coming in, but there has been that challenge when it comes to letting people in terms of the security. So there was that announcement that was made. But right now we're going to speak to the ANC, one of the ANC alliance partners, because we know that leading up to the 2021 elections, there was some disagreements when it comes to supporting the ANC, and one of those alliance partners is the SACP. We have the SACP national spokesperson, Dr Alex Mashilo. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. When we went to the 2021 local government elections, there was some disagreements between the SACP and the ANC. It seemed like the SACP at some point would go it alone, but this time around it seems like there's unity that is holding within the alliance. What has led to this?
What has led to this is that following the SACP Congress held in 2017, we put forward a proposal for the reconfiguration of the alliance to function optimally, and among others to ensure that when we move forward, not only do you see the leadership of the ANC, but you also see the leadership of the SACP, COSATU, SANCO, and the support base comprising of the organizations of the mass democratic movement. We are independent organizations, but we have come together in the alliance. We have a shared strategy we call the National Democratic Revolution. That's our program to transform South Africa to become the South Africa defined in the Freedom Charter. So there were differences in the manner in which the alliance functioned at that time. And the ANC at that time seemed reluctant to engage with the idea of the reconfiguration of the alliance. But I must say that in 2019, we came together and produced a document on the reconfiguration of the alliance, and I served on behalf of the SACP in the drafting team of that document. So that document began to pave the way, but it took a long time for that document to filter to where we are in the 2024 election period.
And going into these elections, there's been a few strides that have been made by the government. Right now, when it comes to load shedding, it seems like the party has managed to somewhat deal with that issue of load shedding. There's also the NHI bill that has been signed into law. What are some of the upsides when it comes to the ANC leading up to these elections? What are some of the positives that the ANC can point to when it's going to these elections?
No, we are in 2024. So when we look at the 2024 elections, we look at the 30 years since our transition from 1994. I can tell you, my brother, I lived in a rural village for 9 years called Ramokwerane in the Elias Motswale, the local municipality of Limpopo. We never had electricity in the house where I lived. We lived next to a gravel road where buses used to pass. So these roads were not tarred. There was no water, there was nothing. Today in that village, there is no household without electricity. The roads are tarred. It is near to the town, and the town has come to the people. You see, people used to pay a lot to go to the town. They have built malls now, and people are walking to the malls. So there are so many changes that have happened in South Africa. Think about the over 5 million students who have been held by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. I put it to you that when I completed my matric, the colleges in South Africa, to whom I served as the deputy president of SRCs, we had 134 colleges. I first started as the PWV provincial chairperson for these colleges, and later as the Gauteng chairperson. I can tell you, the Tertiary Education Fund of South Africa never covered colleges. Today, in our TVET colleges, education is for free. And I'm talking about colleges here. So over 5 million students have benefited from this. And think about the over 17 million people in our society who depend at least on social grants, which alleviates poverty. So there have been those particular interventions, but let us also be frank. We have had a problem of corruption, which grew to an industrial scale when South Africa was led by Jacob Zuma. The Guptas, it was announced this morning, they were arrested in India for allegations of involvement in the suicide of one of the business persons there. We want them to come back here. You will recall the SACP was the first political organization to expose what we called corporate state capture in South Africa. When Zuma and his leaders asked us where was the evidence, we became the first organization to call for the establishment of a commission of inquiry, because we could not take the evidence we had at that time and give it to people who were suspects in our view. So we fought. So this thing of corruption is a problem. We went to campaign doing door to door. People are complaining about it, but they can see that since the ANC was led by President Ramaphosa, after Zuma, there has been progress. They want, however, to see greater progress in us dealing with corruption. We have to be firm. The load shedding problem, we don't have it at this moment. There have been interventions that have given us this moment that we are in. We are looking forward to these interventions being strengthened. But let us be clear, South Africa needs a big transmission network. The transmission network that we have goes to the coal power stations. So as you know, the world is transitioning to low carbon energy generation like solar, wind, and other sources of energy. And where we put these things at the moment, we do not have transmission lines. So we need to grow the transmission lines so that we can deal with the load shedding sustainably. And the state, in our view, as the SACP, has to build new generation capacity, because we cannot rely on profit-driven interests to supply the people with electricity.
Thank you so much. That was the SACP National Spokesperson, Dr. Alex Mashilo, just talking about some of the things that the ANC has actually managed to do. And this is why he says that the SACP and the other alliance partner, COSATU, are endorsing the ANC leading up to these elections, Naledi.